Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. My name is Greg Root. I'm the Director of Sales Enablement at Astadia, and I'll be your host for today. Today, we are talking about 3 advantages of cloud computing. After some brief introductions, we'll talk about the cloud mandate and what that really means, and then we'll get into the heart of our topic. We will hold all discussions and questions until the end, so please submit your questions using the chat box in the GoToWebinar control panel on the right-hand side of your screen. Our speaker today is Steve Stewart, Senior Director of Platform Modernization at Astadia. Steve has been working in the technology sector for more than 30 years and has helped scores of companies keep pace with the rapid changes that seem to characterize our industry. Just a little background on Astadia. We are the technology consultancy where enterprise meets cloud. We've been in business more than 25 years, but today our focus is on helping companies that are making the journey to the cloud. Our portfolio delivers an end-to-end solution that includes cloud strategy and readiness assessments, cloud integration, and management of both on-premises and cloud environments. We also have a large team focused on the unique challenges of migrating legacy systems to the cloud. So with that, Steve, I'll turn the program over to you.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you everyone for taking time out of your day to spend a couple minutes with us to kind of discuss the cloud strategy, kind of talk about the advantages of cloud computing. I have created a quick agenda out here to kind of review what we're going to target today. Cloud mandate, is there a mandate? 3 advantages to cloud computing, and then we'll wrap up with some questions and answers towards the end. Feel free in your chat sessions here just to enter any questions you have, and we'll collect them for that. So with that, I'm going to get started right away. I always look for insight and from the Clash, and this song came to me. I used to hear it when I was young, and I thought it's so pertinent today as far as this whole thing about the cloud. Should I stay or should I go? If I go, there will be trouble. And if I stay, it will be double. So come on and let me know. We all have to face this. The cloud is here. The cloud is coming. The cloud is here. It's not coming, it's here. And we have to make a decision if we're going to go, or what are we going to do with our assets, and how are we going to address our business leveraging the cloud. It is what it is, and we have to leverage it, whether it's public, hybrid, private, but the cloud is here to stay. And the Clash foretold that many years ago. So let's kind of get started on this cloud mandate. If you pick up any trade magazine, look at any news, you go to your meetings and whatnot, and the events that are out there, and you're attending those, it's cloud, cloud, cloud. I literally just returned from 2 events. I was at the Oracle Open World event. It was all cloud. I was at the Gartner event in Orlando. It was all cloud. So this is definitely, taking huge steam from a while back, but it's really gathering up a lot of speed and effort right now, and a lot of adapting to that. So we all think that there's a cloud mandate, and I got a secret for you. There is no mandate. Not everything will work with the cloud. And what you need to do is define what are the things I can take to the cloud that would actually make sense. These are things that we have to look at and try to determine, what are the assets that I currently have that I can leverage on the cloud. Look at your existing portfolio and start making some determinations. But we also strongly recommend, instead of saying, yes, I can go to the cloud or have this cloud mandate that I'm going to take everything to the cloud, you need to do an internal assessment. An assessment with honesty. Look at your heart and figure out, listen to your heart and kind of go, is my team really ready? Or is my company ready? Do I have the backing for it? Am I ready for this? Quickly determine what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses. Is your staff ready? Hire somebody. Train somebody. Understand your business objectives. What do you currently have today that you can benefit from the cloud? Can I generate additional revenue? Forge that partnership with the CMO. How can I, potentially leverage the business, leverage the cloud to make my business more agile for what we're trying to do? And look at all those things. And if it makes sense, all those things, look at what leaders out there have been doing talking to the cloud. And in a few minutes, I'm going to walk you through some of the some companies that have taken advantage of the cloud and really made a significant difference for their organization. Before I move on, I'd like to give you a Gartner's definition of a cloud. It's elastically scalable technical capabilities delivered as a service using internet technologies. So it'll grow as you grow, and it'll shrink as you shrink. Whatever your utility, if you look at a utility-based computing model, right, just like your utility bill, you pay for what you consume, and that is what the cloud is able to do, and can expand and contract as you need it. All right, on to the next one. So if you look at what some of the leaders are currently doing in this space, they are adopting a very cloud-first mindset. And what that means is, as the business makes a request for, hey, I need to do XYZ or whatever application that they need to deliver, whatever business need arise, and as you're sitting there understanding their requirements, start thinking, is this possible in the cloud? Can I leverage what cloud architecture can I start leveraging, and start looking towards that? Start creating a very flexible architecture that allows you to use diverse cloud platforms. And some of the things that we also recommend is look at multi-cloud types of deployments. Maybe use one as a backup for another. I always joke that if Azure and Amazon are both down, we have bigger problems in the world. But you should look at different types of multi-cloud strategies as a backup for meeting some of your requirements for your critical systems. But more importantly, start developing that ecosystem that has a nice framework that allows you to leverage the cloud, whether it's on-prem or off-prem, public or private, for your development applications. And as you start identifying these cloud first, start looking at your other applications that could be very easily deployed up to the cloud as well, and start making, what I call make small bets and invest early. So look at small groups of programs that you can deploy. High five that is running, you're off. You got a small victory, on to the next one, and do multiple baby steps. And then you'll start getting that flywheel moving, and you start getting more and more things out there. And as with anything, you do something small, you learn from that. You may skin your knee a little bit or whatever, but you'll learn from experience and start going through that process, and then you learn as you go. And document everything. I'm a very big believer of, if you have a long journey, break them out into multiple steps and stops, and celebrate. Hey, we took this first group, celebrate, move on, versus a 3-year project that is just a grind to do. So have multiple steps in between, and very importantly, need to have executive management on top giving you that endorsement for these types of initiatives. All right, so if you look at I'm sorry, I went back one slide here. So how big is the cloud project? So avoid creating a massive cloud project. Like I was just talking about this 3-year engagement of trying to take everything to the cloud. Look at your existing apps. What apps can be reduced? Which apps I don't need anymore? Start looking at your IT portfolio. What really aligns to the business? If you have a group of programs that are poorly architected and have no value to the business, ask yourself, why do I have these programs? What is the purpose of maintaining them? So start doing an application portfolio rationalization of these applications that you currently have, and then start determining which ones are the ones that we have. Create like a little Gartner quadrant of your applications. You want to be on that top right corner up there for your applications that make sense, and the ones that have no business value and poorly architected, start knocking it out. This is what Gartner talks about, a application overhaul of your IT, and start eliminating those. And you'll see that if you follow Gartner and Forrester, we talk about technical debt, And that technical debt is usually hidden within some of these applications that has just been put off for a while that now become, kind of burdensome to the enterprise. So when you're looking at a cloud strategy, take advantage of assessing your entire IT portfolio and start eliminating some of these applications so that then you can have these quick wins of applications that are running out into the cloud. So some of the advantages of cloud computing that we'll talk about here shortly, there are a multitude of ones. And as somebody who's been in the business for a long time, this is a very interesting time that I'm seeing right now from the standpoint of just the ability of what you're able to do. I use the analogy of how these fintech companies have just come out of nowhere with really small IT budgets, but leveraging the cloud allowed them to pay as they go. So you look at somebody like Square, somebody like we're going to talk about Airbnb and Uber and all these companies out in Silicon Valley. They don't have to build large IT infrastructures to handle hundreds of thousands of clients, but they're able to do that with what they currently with their initial investment in the cloud, and then have a self-funding model that as they gain more customers, in their cost model, they already have contemplated a cloud instance and they're able to grow. And this is really the differentiator. Me and my college roommate could probably created a company way back when, but then we needed funding to get the company off the ground and get going. Today you can really start your own company pretty quickly and leverage the cloud. And if you have a good business model or a great idea, the sky's the limit. You're able to do that. And this is one of the interesting things, or the biggest dynamic that I see in the cloud computing arena, the innovations and things that you're able to do, and then marry that with the cloud. All right, so, sorry I got cut off on a little tangent there, but I'm real passionate about this. But let's give you some of the, just kind of give you an idea as to what you're able to do and how agile you can be and how fast you can go to the market. And this is back to what I was talking about earlier before. So picture of the day, if you guys have been in IT for a while, somebody says, I want to build these applications, and you say, okay, I need to buy a server, so you order a server from CDW, HP, or whatever, whoever your vendor is. The server gets on, then you got to get your IT staff to go load out this, build it out, put it on the rack, make sure everything is set, get the power requirements, load out the software, and then update all the patches, make sure everything is ready to go. That'll take you easily a week to 2 weeks at best, right? And I would say it'll probably be 3 to 4 weeks before you have the server up and running from the time that you get, the PO approved, funded, ordered, deployed, stood up, power, everything ready to go. You're looking at easily 3 to 4 weeks, and that's not being exaggerated. So if you think about how that is what it used to be, and now you go, the average user in the private sector doing a private cloud can stand up an environment and fully provision it within 180 minutes. The best people that know how to use the cloud, very agile on it, are able to deploy in 60 minutes. So just think about that. From when you get go that you want to do something, instead of going to get a PO and order the software and order the server and do all these things to stand it up, to 180 minutes. And if you're really agile on it and really know how to do that, down to 60 minutes in a private cloud instance, that is phenomenal. Now let's just take this up another notch. The folks that are doing in the public cloud average 60 minutes. That's just regular, normal folks that are just learning how to cloud to be able to deploy and provision a server. They'll take 60 minutes in the public cloud. The best folks within that group can do it in 30 minutes. So if an idea from the boardroom or a war room or one of these, wherever people come up with different types of ideas, says we need to add this product, or your competitor has just introduced something and you need to counter that, your time to market has now gone from months to minutes. And that is a phenomenal thing that you need to take advantage of from a cloud perspective. you know, and this is not us, this is McKinsey and Company talking about this. There are lots of articles out there. Strongly suggest you Google a lot of these things. This is why cloud is here to stay, because the ability to be able to stand up and run these applications quickly, faster time to market, quicker time to respond to the business needs is what's happening. What's very interesting when I even specifically talking about this is you look at these big, large financial banks and these fintechs. 2 or 3 guys in the garage form a company, boom, they come in because they're able, now they're on an even scale with some of these folks from an IT infrastructure. So this is a very valid and probably one of the reasons why I'm such a big believer in the cloud is how fast you can respond to the market for that. You know, if you look at, you know, so a classic example, I'm gonna go into 2 different ones, but you know, Airbnb started in San Francisco, small company trying to, you know, basically offering, rooms for rent for people that live out there, and it was started years ago. It's 2008 when it started. They worked with, they use Amazon as their cloud platform. Now they're over in 25,000 cities in 192 countries. So you think about if they came up with a plan and go, all right, I'm going to support 192 countries. I need to have a data center in the Pac Rim, another data center in North America, data center down in Latin America, because you need to make sure that you have the response time for that and go get the funding and then pitch the idea. They would never have gotten off the ground. So these companies, Airbnb, Uber, Lyft, all of these companies have come out and are able to provide their services and be the disruptive force that they are in their industry because of the cloud. So they were able to rapidly leverage the cloud to do the things that they needed to do. They can go to, you know, I don't know if they're in Romania or not, but, you know, they could go to Romania or Bulgaria tomorrow if they wanted to by just leveraging the Amazon cloud. All right. Same thing with same thing like Uber, Lyft, Square, and there's a multitude of companies out there that are leveraging the cloud for growth. And so this is one of the reasons why that you're able to take the scalability of the cloud to meet the needs of your market. So if you come up with a great idea and it ignites like fire, you don't have to worry about making sure that infrastructure is there. The cloud will provide that to you. So let's look at another one, a communications company that had multiple instances of the same applications throughout different countries scattered throughout EMEA and Latin America and Europe. And they were able to, you know, they had to collect information from different countries as they processed their end of months. Things had to be FTP'd and all those things. And it was really hard to get a real understanding as to what my company is doing from all these different geolocations that are scattered throughout the world. By leveraging the cloud, they had an instance of all these applications and then leveraging and deploying web services amongst all of these things. They're able to get rapidly one view as to what is really going on. And they were able to, you know, as new services came in, they were able to reduce their time to market by 70%. They developed a bunch of brand new agile processes. They were able to do respond to the need pretty quickly, again, leveraging the cloud. And they had the validation by, you know, being able to provide these new services, but more importantly, have the agility and the visibility into what my business is doing, because we're all in the cloud in the same type of instance. We don't have multiple data centers trying to FTP. It's all within the cloud, and they're able to rapidly share information quickly. And that is probably the biggest thing that the cloud brought to this communications company in Europe. You know, another thing that you need to look at is cost transformation. You know, back to the point that I was talking about earlier. Excuse me. If you look at, again, procuring the servers and all of these things, those are CapEx expenditures that you can depreciate over X amount, I think is 4 years, 3 years, or maybe 5 years, I can't remember the number, but you're able to capitalize those and then depreciate it over those years. It's now a purely OpEx model because you pay as you go. So you have as revenue comes in, you can offset that expense with revenue because you're paying as you go. So you can align your costs with the demands of the business. So as you scale up, then your costs go up, but you have an offsetting revenue for that. So you're shifting your CapEx expense to an OpEx model. Again, the utility-based computing model, you pay for what you use, and it makes it a lot easier instead of having that difficult conversation with the CFO. Oh, I didn't plan for 20% growth. I need to get these servers installed. Or that difficult conversation as well. I want to invest X of millions of dollars in case we have a spike in business, so I'm ready for it. And so you're making a bet, and the CFO is going to go there, all right, you're going to make a bet, I'm going to invest these millions of dollars in case you have the business, or you want me to pay unforecasted or unbudgeted expenses in case you're very successful and you have a growth, and then you don't have the CapEx for it. Having shifting this IT cost into the OpEx model is a very, very, very interesting thing, because now your smaller companies are a lot agile, and they are in an equal footing to some of these larger companies that have excess capital for that. So, and that is something that I've seen pretty well. So if you look at the TCO of these servers as they get deployed in the private cloud, the total cost of over legacy in-house servers, the average is 10 to 20% savings, but the ones that are really adopted in the private cloud market, they're up to 30 to 40%. In a public cloud, the average user saves 20 to 30% off their TCO as compared to the folks that are the top percentile in the public cloud is up to the 40, 50%. I'm just trying to just fathom what I just said there. And this is from Enterprise Cloud Infrastructure Survey. We can provide that to you. But 40% TCO savings of deploying these servers. I mean, that goes straight to the bottom line as compared to what you're doing today. That is agility, cost savings, that shift from CapEx to OpEx. That is what really separates. This is why I believe we are in a very transformational arena right now in IT, and I stress again, two guys in the garage can come up with a great idea and totally disrupt the market, and that's why us as business owners, or you as CIOs or IT professionals providing services to your company, you need to embrace this model so that you too are as agile as the two guys in the garage. Not only are you able to, once you start leveraging this stuff, you also have the ability to charge back to the business unit that made the request for this, instead of trying to figure out what percent, what corporate allocation applies to this business unit over this business unit. Which BU has the idea, came up with the request, and they also can then pay out of their budget for the increase in demands for the cloud instance. All right. From a cost transformation, this was a USB survey that 1 in 3 users report cost savings in excess of 40% after year 2 of adoption. Nearly all users reported savings of more than 20% after 2 years of usage. I'm sorry, this is a no-brainer. If 1 in 3 users have an excess of 40% after 2 years of adoption, those savings go right to the bottom line. This is one of the reasons why this cloud initiative is so important. This is a UPS survey. It was a very interesting report. It came out in March. There's a lot of other neat tidbits in this report that we can make available to you as well. So let's talk about cost transformation from Best Buy. So Best Buy, I'm a Best Buy user. I've been buying from Best Buy for a long time, and I remember when they first came out with the gift tag scenario, they built it in-house on-prem servers, and that's it's kind of like your wish list. I want this iPod, and I know about it because I got kids who go on and create their wish lists, and they want Daddy to go buy all this stuff. So when they look at the Best Buy application that they built, they had a larger teams that they currently had that was dedicated to it. They decided to do a complete rewrite from the on-prem standard waterfall app dev technique to a cloud enablement, and they were able to reduce the times from 52 weeks, which really took to build it. So from the idea that I want to build this to ordering the servers, procuring them, standing them up, running them, all of those things, from that time to actually collecting the wish list for the gift tag on-prem, it was 52 weeks, a year. When they scrapped that model and said, let's go, it was a year with a team of 8 people. When they went to, let's leverage the cloud and rewrite it all and then use some social media campaigns and leverage and maybe deploy to the mobile and all those things, it took them 11 weeks from start to finish with half the team. That's agility, that's productivity, that's meeting the needs of the end users. That's, unfortunately for me, a bigger list for my kids, but this is the kind of stuff that we were just talking about, how you can meet the needs of your clients and being agile for that. And what's really impressive about this is that this is Best Buy, right? There's nothing stopping ABC company, a smaller company, doing exactly the same thing, or having the same type of requirements and being able to be that productive. You as an IT professional, again, should look at how can we capture and reutilize some of these resources that the cloud provides to you, the productivity gains that you have from that. So if you look at another one, Air Innovation, there was a consulting company that had offices in Spain and Colombia and the UK. They had an ERP-based system, different ones, different hardware refreshes, different applications running, and their processes were to FTP and collect it all together. They adopted a cloud strategy, and then that gave them the ability to have a standard instance of the ERP out in the cloud that then they were able to gather real-time information. They were very much more agile with HR. They were a lot more agile from their sales dashboards and all of those things, instead of collecting the data and then putting them all together. Because these are geo-located companies, folks in Colombia, folks in Spain, folks in the UK, different time zones and whatnot, they're all sharing the same instance in the cloud and able to collaborate and provide information to a corporate dashboard. And that was something that some of the productivity gains that they were able to garner by leveraging the cloud. So let's talk a little bit about some of the innovations that we've seen out there. We talk about looking at existing workloads you currently have, but the innovation really starts from the standpoint of how can I look at rethink our business processes. Why am I doing this today? Well, and a lot of these business processes were probably initiated several years ago. So how can I leverage these business processes today and then leverage the cloud? So look at some of the native cloud capabilities that exist out there. Start looking at micro web services, geolocation services. We talk about how the classic FedEx model, where you can then track your package and where your package is and so on, because they get scanned at different locations, and then once it gets scanned, it kind of sends a hey, I'm here, and then it populates a tracker as to where things are at. These are different types of web services. Now, there's one that I'm really eager to look at, and that's the Delta this week just announced that they've eliminated that they'll never lose a bag again. I'm just okay, right? Whatever. Okay, so they're never going to lose a bag again. Now they've introduced RFID tags on your luggage tags. So instead of waiting for the bag to get to a station where it gets scanned and then gets updated, it actually knows where it's at because that RFID tag is going to be pinging its location at all times. So within the airports and the terminals and everything else, they have these receivers that are basically polling and receiving the data as to where these where your luggage is at, and then updating it real time so you actually can see via mobile and whatnot. They're leveraging the cloud. They're leveraging microservices. They're providing a service to their clients. And this is something that, if you think about years ago, trying to do that would be very costly, but it's not as costly now for that. But it's pretty innovative. I mean, I'm going to be on Delta next week, so I'll report back what I find. But I'm very interested to see what they're able to do. But back to the innovation from the cloud perspective, again, what I've been kind of stating earlier on, you're able to scale up and scale down. You can rapidly respond to whatever business. Back to my point about going and asking the CIO, hey, I need some money because we expect to have a 20% increase in business due to this new product that we're going to launch. And he's sitting there skeptical going, how do you know you're going to hit 20%? What happens if you hit 40%? And so you pay as you go. So that scaling up and scaling down is a great innovation that you should probably tap into from a cloud perspective. Another one is, this is a very interesting one. I actually saw this. I met with the vendor that actually collects a lot of this information. But he has all of the baseball teams right now, and they collect the data real time, high-speed video, pitches, and do the analysis of all of these things so that you're able to do better on-air analysis, but also some competitive situation that if you know the pitcher always pitches, low to the right and strikes out. They're able to, each team's able to analyze each of the pitchers, what are their favorite pitch, and actually see it. And the opposing team's also able to look at the batters to find out which batters, how often they strike out based on what kind of pitches they get struck out. Very interesting of, it's almost like Moneyball on steroids around this. And then you're able to look at, as a fan, you're able to keep track of this. But this is a interesting use of that. There's no way this small company would have been able to do what they did by sitting there trying to figure out how to stand up a server to handle the gobs of data that they collect. If you think about how many pitches are in the game, how many batters are in the game, all of that stuff, and the different angles that they collect, it's 17 petabytes of data. That's just something that you just can't collect. So they were able to leverage the cloud and use Amazon for a lot of that stuff, and then the coaches and the teams are able to make better business decisions, or not business, sorry, better pitching decisions, lineups. It's a very unique way of leveraging the cloud and some technologies that they have for collecting this information. From baseball, we'll go to farming. It's an interesting some technology that we've seen people use in the cloud. If you think about the IoT devices that are out there, they have devices out there collecting how much moistures are in the soil, heat, all the different types of things that they're able to then determine when a certain acre of land needs to be watered to maintain the optimal humidity level and soil monitor water, all these things to make sure that they're able to have an optimal growing acre. And by having these IoT devices constantly that they're able to ping and collect the data and then store it and then analyze it, they've been able to increase their productivity, 650% more of corn and 13% fewer of acres. So if you think about that, by just leveraging just these IoT devices and then able to then put them and collect that data, that it's just a bunch of big data, a lot of data information. Smaller companies couldn't do that, but they're able to leverage the cloud to then analyze and ensure that these acres of land are properly monitored and watered and ready to go so that they're able to proceed forward and provide the yield that they need for the acre of land that's been assigned to them. So in summary, I know I've been talking about the cloud and everything needs to get in the cloud. I really want to take a step back and state that not every application you have in your IT portfolio is going to work in a cloud environment. You need to look at every single one of them, right? Do that application portfolio assessment. Determine which ones are the ones that is the low-hanging fruit that then you're able to go to manage and go, see, I was able to do that. Others are not going to make that cross. Look at the cloud to be agile and be able to respond quickly to the needs of your business units and your partners in the business. Provide innovative services by leveraging micro web services. Where and how you leverage cloud, it's your call. You make the decision. You've got to look within. Am I ready? Can I do this? Do I have the staff? How am I going to do this, right? Start getting answers to those questions, start determining which ones that is, and then start aligning your business objectives to make sure that you're leveraging the cloud and start chipping away at it so that you're able to do that cloud. The last thing I need you to do is do the analysis by paralysis, right? You need to analyze. Just do it. It's not a massive program. Take small steps. Do DR. Do all your backup to the cloud. Start doing DevOps in the cloud. Start creating little sandboxes that you're able to test in the cloud. Look at a small program that you can take to the cloud. But start doing it, little baby steps, one bite at a time. Start making these small bets. Learn from what you're doing, and then you can run. And that's, like the classic scenario, crawl, walk, run. Look at what are the applications you can start doing and start providing and investing and creating a very flexible ecosystem that would allow you to take all the benefits of the cloud. So again, this is not like, though it sounds like it's a big cloud thing, what I'm saying is that the cloud is there, leverage it, look within, determine what makes sense, do small bets, and some applications will not go, others will. So with that, appreciate the time you gave me. We're open for questions. I'll pass it over to Greg to see if there's anything that, any questions that come up.
Yeah, Steve, thank you. Thank you very much. Actually, we have 4 questions in the queue, so I'm just going to run down these questions in the order that they arrived here. The first one is, do you recommend focusing on a single cloud like AWS?
To me, best practices is that you can use AWS, but I like, if I'm deploying a cloud strategy, to have a backup cloud, to have portions of my applications in AWS, maybe some others in Azure. Kind of like I stated earlier in my conversation today. You kind of have a diverse play there. You have a nice disaster recovery backup for it in another cloud instance. If Azure and Amazon are both down, we have bigger problems in the world. But it's your call. You got to look at what your risk mitigation strategy is, or how comfortable you are. If you're comfortable being all in on Amazon, on AWS, that's fine as well. I'm more of a, hey, I like to have a DR plan or a backup with a complete separate provider, but that's just me. So you have to look within as to what makes sense for you.
Okay, very good. Second question, Steve, is from a company that says we haven't gotten started yet and we're really not sure where to begin. So what would you recommend as first steps?
The very first step is, what do I have? Where are they? Do that application portfolio assessment. Who has it? Where are they? What version numbers are they? How do they align to the business? Are they providing value to me? And probably, the most importantly of all, identify, like I stated earlier, I have a group of programs that is poorly architected and provides no value to the business, yet I have them. So start getting rid of that. So the first step is to assess your IT portfolio. And then from there, you can start identifying the low-hanging fruit. It could be standalone applications that can be deployed quickly over there. If you have a homegrown HR system, I would state, do you really need to be in the HR business? Why don't you look at a cloud-based solution provider for that? Payroll, things of that nature. So back to the question, the first step is assess what you currently have. Assess your team, your staff, what you currently have, and then start chopping away at it.
Okay, very, very good. You may have actually touched on this one a little bit in that answer, but it goes back to this discussion around small bets, and this person is asking, can you give me an example of what you mean by a small bet?
So a small bet, if you don't have a single cloud instance right now, one quick way to do that is maybe small bet is to take DR into the cloud, backup into the cloud. Create a sandbox for development, DevOps in the cloud. These are small bets. You may have identified a small application that you can then leverage for the cloud, right? Standalone, not too many integration points, really small that it kind of makes it maybe a batch process or something of that nature that you can then move to the cloud. And as you start seeing and gaining the reducing your costs and actually seeing the benefit of being able to move these small bets, you can then go into bigger bets from a cloud perspective.
Okay, and last question that we have here, and you've touched on this idea of doing data recovery and backup in the cloud. The question is, what is your take on the ingress and egress charges related to in and out data?
Yep. So these providers are, they do charge you for data that you put in and pull out for that, and DR. And when you look at it from a backup, it's a very valid question, the guy that you're asking. You have to look at your total TCO. So if today your retention policy is to keep everything, I question that. What is identify, talk to legal, figure out what is your true retention policy needed legally for your company. Let's say it's 5 or 6 years. If it's 5 or 6 years or 7 years or 10 years, then purge anything past that. Now you reduce that set. You may want to look at what is the cost of putting things to tape. So if you need to keep everything, what do you need access to immediately? So you're able to reduce your ingress and egress costs. Remember, it's only a one-time charge because that data is not static. It's only incremental. So it's a one-time charge. You may want to look at your total TCO being, you know what, anything past 5 years, I'm going to put the tape and I'm going to store it, versus getting charged storage on the mainframe, and look at what is your cost associated from one to the other. So I don't want to cop out on the, but it's a total, it depends. Every organization is going to be different based on retention policies. I am more in the line of, if I have 10 years of data that I'm retaining, what is my legal obligation to have? And let's say that's 5. I probably put the 6 to 10 on tape and put it in storage, or like Iron Mountain or something like that, and then the other 5 that I need access to pretty readily available, put that in the cloud so I'm able to access that. That's probably the strategy I would do. Just depend. It's going to be a case-by-case basis. But if you look at your total cost today for tape, storage, and backup, as compared to what the ingress and egress charges would be when you put using DR in the cloud, look at do an analysis. Use that against your vendor when you're talking to them. This is what it costs, because they may give up on some of that, since it's just static data. It's just a one-time transfer, and then you're just keeping it in sync for current information. Sorry for the long-winded, but there's so many different scenarios for that question.
Yeah. Yeah. No, Steve, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. And we have no more questions coming in, Steve. So at this point, I'd like to say thank you very, very much for all your insights, and thank the audience for being here today. And we hope to see you again very soon.
Thank you.